that in Cheetos.
That's true.
Provide a healthy return on investment.
Yeah, but you can only
in the form
eat
of
so
orange
many
fingers.
Cheetos.
But I'd be eating up my investment, and who needs that? So, or I could invest it in Pepsi Cola, and that's the same deal.
Now, did you get a knock of about 17% on your refund that you didn't expect from the glitch?
No, not as far
Have you
as
heard
I
about
know.
this?
No.
Well, I have a clip in the bank here if you want to play it. So apparently about 10% of the people that signed up for the Affordable Care Act got wrapped up in a glitch, I guess is what they're calling it. I don't know. Maybe just a bad idea. But anyhow, it's CBS, I think.
Obamacare glitch.
Yeah. Here, you can hear the cut. This is from CBS.
This is 2 minutes and 50 seconds, so sit back and enjoy.
Out of the latest stumble for Obamacare, officially known as the Affordable Care Act, the administration has announced a special enrollment period from March 15th to April 30th for people who did not realize they'd have to pay a penalty for not having health care coverage. And officials are also trying to fix a problem that could be a headache for hundreds of thousands of taxpayers enrolled in Obamacare. Juliana Goldman is in our Washington Bureau with more on this. Good morning, Juliana.
Good morning. Well, this is the first year that Americans who have health insurance through the Affordable Care Act are filing taxes that include the subsidies that have helped them afford coverage. On average, we're talking about $268 a month. But now the government is saying that some of that information is wrong and telling nearly 1 million taxpayers to hold off filing their 2014 returns. The error affects about 800,000 people who bought insurance through healthcare.gov and who the administration says have now received inaccurate information on their tax forms. Between 40,000 and 80,000 people already filed their taxes with the wrong data, and officials say the Treasury Department will provide them with additional information. So for now, all those affected are being told to wait. Andrew Slavitt with the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services says the government needs time to sort out the mistakes.
So we're notifying people, and we've already begun notifying people today. They'll get a corrected form beginning the first week in March.
About 6.5 million people are receiving tax credits to help pay for their insurance through the federal marketplace. Officials don't yet know what caused the problem for the 800,000, but options range from human error to a software glitch. With filing season underway, it's causing complications. The world's largest tax services provider, H&R Block, warned in a statement Friday that those who already filed could face an additional repayment obligation. Others could see their tax returns delayed.
Everybody here has directly benefited from the Affordable Care Act.
But Friday's snafu is a blemish on the federal enrollment season, which officials say saw 11.4 million people sign up or renew Obamacare plans. It's reminiscent of last year's debacle when the federal website crashed multiple times at launch. Republicans are pouncing. In a letter sent late Friday to the Department of Health and Human Services, Illinois' Pete Roscom demanded answers, writing, "This error has created additional uncertainty in a tax season already filled with unprecedented challenges and complexity for taxpayers." It's also amplifying calls from Republicans to repeal the law. The White House is playing down the glitch, saying this is just a very small fraction of people affected, and they should still have plenty of time to file by the April 15th deadline with the right information. Vanita?
Juliana Goldman in Washington this morning. Thank you.
I love that the government's like, yeah, we're going to need some time to sort out the details. Can you imagine if it were the other way around? Like, sorry, IRS, just need a couple more weeks. I left the bags full of receipts in my basement, and I got to dig them out. I can't get there in time, so need an extension. Thank you very much.
Well, I have some clients that have called Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act Obama don't care. But what I'm hearing now, you keep hearing the word glitch. I think we ought to rename it Glitch Care.
Glitch Care. That's nice.
Yeah. Everything's a glitch.
I love it how they called it a blemish. A blemish. On something that has probably had a really, really hard time with complexion. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just another blemish on a really already totally blemished. Where's the proactive? Past the proactive, whatever.
Yeah,
my gosh.
It's unfortunate because in years gone by, the IRS told brokerage houses. So if you had a brokerage account with, say, D.A. Davidson or RBC Dane or whoever, they were under the gun to get their 1099s out by January 31st. And they couldn't get them out, or if they did, a week or 3 weeks later, they would issue a corrected 1099. Well, what that has the impact of doing is you file your return, you think you got good information, and whoops, no, you don't. So then you have to file an amended return to claim the right amount of income, capital gains or losses, and all this stuff. This has the same impact.
I wanted to know one of the things, and she referred to it in the little CBS clip here, but Josh Earnest was asked about the glitch, I guess is what we're calling it now. And Josh said this is just a small fraction of Americans. Well, it turns out that it's about 10% of the people that signed up for the program. Which is a fairly, 10%.
That's a million.
If I failed at 10% of my husbandly chores, I would get my butt kicked. But anyway, so the 10%, maybe a small fraction, maybe not. I just wanted to know, as a CPA, have you come across anybody that's had to deal with this?
Yeah, we have some clients that have been affected by it. In fact, we just got this couple's return done who had the Affordable Care Act and purchased insurance through the exchange, and lo and behold, they got a notice that they were told wrong.
All
so,
right.
and we had the return prepared, but thankfully we hadn't electronically filed it yet.
Now, I must ask you this. The arguments that are going on before the Supreme Court as we speak in Washington, D.C., as to whether or not these federally run exchanges are constitutional.
Oh, King versus Burwell?
Yeah. And if it turns out, if the Supreme Court goes against the president and against the administration and says, oh, I'm sorry, we have a real problem here, Houston.
Yeah.
Because all those subsidies of the majority of the states that had state-run exchanges, all those would be null and void. And so people would have to pay the full cost of their Obamacare policy.
Yeah.
Which in some cases, some of those subsidies are really huge, especially for lower-income folks.
Yes.
So
that would make it, that would create a lot of unhappy citizens.
There's just no way that it happens that way. I mean, yeah, sure, the Supreme Court can make that decision, but believe it or not, I think Congress would have to get its act together to fix that one. That's so big.
You think the president would sign it, or would he veto it?
I think he'd have to. Even if he vetoed it, the Senate would have to override.
And see, here's the deal. If the Supreme Court decides it's unconstitutional, it's unconstitutional. And so now there's a lot of political posturing and positioning saying, well, the Republicans are now saying, let's make a plan so that if it does get declared, the Republicans will rush to the rescue and have this stopgap bill saying, for the next 60 days or 90 days until the bill is rewritten, we will, forego all that and not worry about having to pay that extra money. And therefore, the Republicans would look like heroes, and President Obama and the folks who put this thing together, this Obamacare together, would look even more disastrous.
Foolish?
Yeah, foolish than they had been in the past.
I mean, there's lots of ways they could play it, but, basically the decision, as I understand it, we're actually going to talk about this for a little bit on Thursday, is over, as Peter had mentioned, whether or not the subsidies can flow through state exchanges that weren't built by the states themselves. Because originally the government wanted every state to have their own exchange.
That's why they wrote it that way.
They wanted us to pay money to build these things, and we didn't want to necessarily. Right. Most states didn't. Anyway, so if the law is read as it was written, and that you can't do that the money won't flow through these federally run exchanges, then the government, Obama will just say, okay, well, do what you want with what it was written. Build your state exchange and you get the money and you can stop hurting your people. It's the same message that we're getting with Medicaid expansion. Stop hurting your people, states. Stop hurting your people.
Yeah, but if you don't run the credit, the premium credit through a proper exchange as is worded in the Obamacare law or the Unaffordable Care Act now, which it could be, then you won't get the credit. And all those people in those states that are affected, their returns will be wrong.
Yeah, we're going to take a break. I want to know what you think. Is 721-1290, and I really want to hear from anybody because we have a state-run exchange. We have a federally run exchange in Montana, and those who thought, oh, I got the sweetest deal. My premium was going to be $400 a month, but because of the subsidy, I'm only paying like $120 a month. Woo woo! Are you feeling the least bit nervous right now? 721-1290 is our number. We're going to come right back with more in a moment.
Ouch, ouch, ouch.
And you know, the stuff you don't hear is usually the funniest. But anyway, 721-1290. Now, what was your idea about Gruber?
Well, I guess Walt was saying that there's a new Gruber video. I haven't seen it yet.
But it's similar to the ones in the past where, he's mocking the voters and the citizens and
for not
all
being
that.
smart enough to find out
Yeah.
the lies. Anyway, I had mentioned when he brought that up that I really hope Jonathan Gruber runs with Joe Biden for the election, the presidential election in 2016, so we can have a Gruber Groper ticket, and I could follow him around and be a Gruber Groper groupie. There we go.
Awesome.
So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. You wonder what the august minds in Talkback talk about during the breaks. That's pretty much it right there.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right.
Now you said you had something there. Is that
we got all kinds of stuff here. I was going to talk a little bit about Obamacare, but that already came up.
Okay.
But the issue recently, and like I was mentioning, they're talking like 900,000 forms that they sent out of about the 5 million.
Right.
It's the tax form. It's called 1095A, and it reflects your monthly information you're supposed to use with preparing your tax return. But when they did these forms for this group of people that they say is a mistake, they just threw in an amount from what they estimated, or not estimated, but for the lowest cost silver plan. Because what do we got? Bronze and silver, and I'm not sure.
bronze, silver, gold, and platinum? Yeah.
Oh, was there gold too?
I have a neodymium plan.
Molybdenum.
Yes,
Well, I think based on that last comment you got, I think it was like nickel.
But if you can spell molybdenum, then you get the plan. But
Yeah,
anyway,
that's right. Okay. Anyway, it was just somebody grabbed the wrong number. They picked it from 2015 for the lowest cost silver plan instead of using it for 2014. That's the biggest thing. So I can't imagine it being a huge difference, but you never know. And for all those people out there that are caught up with this, well, you get to wait to file your return. Well, I hate to say it, but you're really better off to wait instead of filing a return and then amending it.
Yeah.
So that's what the problem was? Someone just put the wrong number in.
Yeah.
That's not called a glitch. That's just called bad input, bad output.
Yeah, garbage in, garbage out.
out.
Well,
Garbage
that's
out.
what we call screwing up in the radio business. So
I wish we every time I have to sneeze or something while we're experiencing a glitch right now on our program.
okay, let's get Susan on the line. Susan, good morning.
Well, all I can say about taxes is that, and free things, is that people need to remember nothing is free. And when somebody says, oh, I got something from the government that was free, they need to substitute that with, I got something from my next door neighbor because they had to get paid, they had to pay through their shorts.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, thanks. Speaking of which,
Thanks,
we have
Susan.
free tax advice from Walt Kero today.
Yes,
Just give
we
us
do.
a call
yeah.
at 721-1290. The only charge we have is that you need to be entertaining enough for our listeners. And,
Wow. If you can come up with something better than Gruber Groper, then you're welcome here. All three lines
That would
are
be
open. Seriously,
great.
if you have any tax questions, you may be sitting around, tearing out what's left of your hair because you're, gosh, it's already March 4th and the deadline is April 15th. And If you have questions, then this is the gentleman who literally has the answers at his nimble fingertips. So.
In a lot of cases, not all, but in a lot.
All right. Well, let's do that right now. Will is on the line. Good morning, Will.
Hey, good morning.
What's
Hi,
up,
Will.
What's up?
Well, I have a tax question.
Okay.
And I heard you're giving out free advice.
You
so,
bet. For what that's worth. I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Well, I'm 26, and I have a pretty significant amount of student debt. My loan has defaulted, and in the past couple of years, my taxes have been seized in lieu of me paying my student loans.
Oh, so they've been capturing your refund?
Yes.
Yeah.
And right now I'm part of a rehabilitation program through financial asset management systems.
Mm-hmm.
I have to make 9 consecutive payments, and then they'll take my loan out of default. Well, that 9th payment happens to be the beginning of April, and I'm wondering if I file an extension on my taxes, if they will no longer be susceptible to being seized?
That's a good question. I would think it wouldn't hurt to try that, Will, because you're not doing anything wrong. Anybody can get an extension to file.
Sure.
The only, I'll as with anything, there's always some exceptions to the rule. But in your case, if you're working for wages or salaries and you have withholding and all that good stuff, then you're pretty much, you can qualify and get an extension. The only time you can't get an automatic extension is if you owe a whole bunch of money and you haven't got most of it or 90% of it paid in by January 15th. But most people that have withholding are usually in pretty good shape.
Okay. Hey, thanks. Awesome.
You bet. Well,
Thanks.
good luck.
Thanks for the
All
call.
right.
Hey,
Thank you.
can I ask you what your degree is in?
Oh, I don't even have a degree.
Oh my. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, Will. Appreciate it.
They don't. Yeah, that's some pretty interesting tax judo.
Oh.
Basically, he's not going to end up paying because he's delaying.
Well, no. Is you see, they would grab his current 2014 tax refund to make a payment on there. But if he's made 9 consecutive payments and agreed with the payoff plan, well, he's complied. Okay. So why? It's a good point.
If you need more advice from the tax guru, Walt, Kero, we got him right here. Give us a call, 721-1290. We've got lines open.
Right back. Ow! 721-1290 is our number. Walt Kero is our guest. We're coming up on our hard break here in just a couple of minutes. So we have time to take a quick tax call if you would like to get yours in, 721-1290. But if not, what else did you bring with us there, Mr.
Well, like I said, we were going to I thought I'd come prepared to talk about dependents.
Not depends.
Not depends.
But Peter's well-versed on both topics.
Yeah. As in opposite of independence.
Yes.
We're talking dependent.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, it's one of the most common questions that I encounter during a tax season. Somebody say, "Well, can I claim so and so?" And I have this handy dandy cheat sheet.
Like Barack Obama. Can I claim Barack Obama?
Yeah.
How many days do they play in your front yard?
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Anyway, there's 5 tests
Okay.
to be able to claim a dependent, as in a dependency type exemption, as opposed to your personal exemption for you and your spouse. Those are personal exemptions.
Right.
Personal. And then we have dependency exemptions. Okay. Are you ready for all this stuff? Because I'll go through this pretty fast, but we start here. Was the person either a member of your household for the entire tax year or related to you? So we'll say yes. Okay. Next box. Was the person a U.S. citizen, resident, a national or national or a resident of Canada or Mexico for any of the any part of the tax year? So, and of course they always got footnotes on everything, there's a talk about exceptions. But we'll say yes. Did that person file a joint return for the year? Probably not.
How would you know? What if you don't know?
Good. Yeah.
Not that kind of joint.
I can't remember. I've been on this medical marijuana for so long.
Colors.
1 minute. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay. Did you provide more than half the person's total support for the year? So you have a support test. And we're assuming yes. Did that person have gross income of more than $3,900? That was in 2013 because that keeps moving. If the answer is no, then that person qualifies as your dependent. Was the person your child? Yes. Was your child under 19 at the end of the year? Yes. All these make that person qualify as dependent. And then the last one, and this comes up quite a bit because if you have children in college, they're older than 19, but they're under 24, and as long as they're a full-time student, you can still claim them.
What if they don't live at home? What if they live in the dorms?
That still works, as long as they're a full-time student. Now, full-time student is, I think, like here at the university, you got to have more than 12 quarter credits and 5 months out of the year. So if you go spring semester, you're good to go.
We're going to be right back after the top of the hour. You have a tax question? Call us. Walt's going to be here with us till 10 o'clock, 721-1290. Okay, we're back. And, of course, our resident CPA, of course, our good friend Walt Kero from Kero Byington Associates.
And Associates.
And Associates, all right. And
and Lacey.
Yeah, and Lacey, the fabulous Lacey.
And who's Lacey?
She's a lovely young lady who helps.
She's our receptionist, and she does a lot of things.
Yes.
Keeps Peter's interest, that's for sure.
Let's put it this way: she has done a marvelous job in helping me get hooked up with Walt and doing all our stuff and make sure my forms are all right. And all
Okay, gotcha. Perfect.
She is the director of First Impressions. Yes, that's her title.
I like that.
Yeah,
very good. Okay, so we're here to talk. We're here to talk taxes, and we do have all three lines open. By the way, as John said a few minutes ago, 721-1290. If you have a tax question, if something is just I can't decide whether I do this or what form, or I don't know where I'm at, or I'm lost, or I'm stuck, and I want to get this done, and it's driving me crazy. And you want to ask somebody, you always, well, gosh, how can I get hold of a CPA and not have them charge me to answer questions? Well, here we are.
I have a stupid question for you, Walt.
Okay.
Why April 15th? How did they pick that day?
I have no clue. You have to set a date certain. But even if you use April 15th, it doesn't matter because you can get an extension.
But I mean, it makes absolutely no sense. I mean, it should be like the first day of a month or the last day of a month or something, right? I mean,
well, yeah, but corporations are due on the 15th of March, unless you have a fiscal year, And believe it or not, there are some individuals out there. Most commonly, they use a September 30 year end instead of calendar year. It is very frequent. In my practice life, which is now 40 plus years, I've seen 3 people use a fiscal year other than December 31st. In all 3 cases, 2 of them are here in Missoula and 1 in Billings. They all use September 30th. And I think it's because they went south for the winter. And so before they left town, they had their returns done.
Wow.
But it gets extremely complicated because you have to prorate your exemptions and you have to prorate all kinds of stuff because you remember they inflation index this stuff. So you would have 9 months of one and 3 months of another. Thank God for software. Otherwise, you would go insane.
What did you do before you had software?
When I first started,
you said you've been doing this for 40 years. So.
Right. When I first started back in 1973, the law was only about 1/3 of what it is now.
Right.
And so it wasn't as complicated, but we burned a lot of holes in paper because when you're preparing a tax return, if you make one change on any page, it seems like every page changes.
Right.
And so it used to be just wild. And so you had to have a really good eraser.
The internet has just connected a lot of dots for me.
Wow.
Remember how I said I thought it should be one of the first or the last days of a month?
Yeah.
It was. Check this out. April 15th has not always been the filing deadline. March 1st was the date specified by Congress in 1913.
Wow.
After the passage of the 16th Amendment.
Mm-hmm.
In 1918, Congress pushed the date forward to March 15th, which you said was the
corporate deadline.
Corporate deadline still is, apparently, where it remained until the tax overhaul of 1954, when the date was again moved ahead to April 15th. Now, the only person in the room that would remember that is Peter, and apparently he forgot. Because
I was John, I was 1 year old in 1954. All right, I didn't even have a return in 1954. Of course, I wasn't earning money yet.
Yeah.
I had to wait till I was 3 and I wrote my first symphony. But
was that the one that sounds like the alphabet with farts?
Hey, it's a million seller, man. Telling you what, everybody can identify with it. Anyway, 721-1290 is our number. Seriously, if you have a question about taxes that makes sense, aside from what we're rambling about here, give us a call at 721-1290. So, yeah.
Oh, but John brings up something pretty interesting.
The fart
because
thing?
the first code was written in 1913. Although there was a U.S. income tax before then, just wasn't as formal. But somewhere in the bowels of my paperwork, I have a copy of I think it was a 1906 tax return.
Really?
Yeah, it was an actual live return by an attorney in Chicago. He had to file a return. And so they had a kind of a temporary income tax to help pay for, I think, a civil war, and then went off and went on and went off, went on. And so then they codified it, made it in 1913. But in 1939, I think it was, there was a major rewrite of the code, so they call it 39 code. And then the same thing in 54. There was a major rewrite of a lot of the tax law, and so they called it the 54 Code. The 54 Code held until 1986. When Reagan was president, they did a major overhaul, and so a lot of people now refer to the 1986 Code. It is in bad need, extreme need of repair right now.
Well, isn't that what Baucus had dedicated himself to before he said he was going to run for election, that he backed out, that he wanted to do a complete tax overhaul?
Yeah, he had a list of like 6 things, and one of them was tax reform. That was the big one.
Yeah, and you could get it done, but it would take several years to do. You just couldn't do it in 1 year. You'd have to need a lot of lead time. And the best thing to do, because you're going to have so much resistance from certain quarters, is include them in the process. Because if you include them in the process, then you'll get them to buy in. What I'm talking about are all the lobbyists on K Street.
Yeah, isn't that the problem, though? They're like, hey, Verizon, come help us write your rules for you.
Yeah, but as long as we're a democracy, we're going to have that. Yeah. You're going to have lobbyists, and you're going to have people representing – those lobbyists represent groups, and those groups represent people.
Well, Peter, I volunteer to go for the talk show host lobby. And make sure that we get our discounts.
By the way, speaking of taxes, we're going to take a break here, and I got this from our friend Catherine, what the president's next possible executive action is going to be deals with your income taxes and the IRS. And we'll come right back. We'll come right back with that in a moment. But if you have a tax question, that's really the reason Walt's here, is to answer your question. So 721-1290 will always put you first. If you have a question or a comment or just want to know some tax facts, the tax guy is here.
We're here to inform and educate.
I like that. We'll be right back. All right, we are back on Talkback 721-1290, 1-800-568-5309. And because people don't want me to share my stories, they call in, and that's good, because that's what it's supposed to be about today. Dave, hold on, stand by. Dave, you're on Talkback with Walt Kero. Hi.
Yeah, good morning. Since you were talking about the history of taxes, I thought I'd throw some numbers at you.
Go for it.
Okay, the percentage of federal income tax that personal income paid in 1952 was 47% of the budget. 72, it was 61. 92, 65, and 2012, it's now 71% personal income tax of the budget. Corporate income tax in 52 was 36% of the budget, and it has dropped to 15% now in 2012. And, that's K Street in my mind right there.
Walt, what do you think?
Well, I would need to look at all the benchmarks, because the corporate taxes, you don't have to be concerned about the shell games played with income and deductions and all that, because it's normally just net income that they're paying the corporate tax level at. But the rate in the U.S. is either the highest or the second highest in the world. And so if you want to create incentives to keep business in the U.S., you would want to have your tax rate competitive with, quote unquote, the world. So
yeah, I think that you're making a really great point. But if back in before 54 or even after 54, right, half of the world is either under communist tyranny or recovering from the war. And so you have a lot of places in the world where it's just not that nice to have a business and have a corporation. And now you have the rise of the rest. Most places in the world are pretty safe. You've got and safe havens, and if you want to pay lower taxes, you can reincorporate in another country, and it's not that hard. And so you have a lot more competition when it comes to this corporate income tax.
Yeah,
thing.
but the thing is that to the extent a corporation can pass the tax on, and we've had this discussion before. But Dave, the thing is that if a corporation can pass that tax on, and if you raised it to 50%, they would try to pass that on to the consumer of their products, and so then you create an inflationary effect from that. Now, how much, I don't know, but as I think Mike has mentioned before, the true payers of even corporate taxes are the consumers or individuals.
Oh, I agree. But there does seem to be a K Street war about taxes. It's important to corporations for some reason. I'm not sure why. They choose states, for example. I mean, if you want to say Montana is competing with another state for a business, it seems like corporations want subsidies to come there. And even though they can pass the costs on, it seems to be important to them.
Oh, it's important for the corporations for sure. The question is what's best for the American people, right? Like, and I think, isn't it Maryland where a lot of places incorporate? Because,
no, Delaware.
Delaware, sorry, yeah. Because they have a deal. Or here in Montana, like we offer discounts and subsidies for the movie industry to come and film here and all these other little things that we do for different types of corporations and businesses to try to lure them here to set up shop and to keep pumping money into our state economy. The countries are operating in the same kind of realm. Like you have the U.S. competing with Ireland or with England for attention from these giant corporations that once you hook them, will keep pumping money into your economy for years and years and years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a huge philosophical thing, but it amounts to a shell game. You start moving things around. It's a tough, the whole point is if you should be middle of the road on taxes. You shouldn't be too greedy or too sympathetic.
Right. And try to imagine this. You got a corporation, and if you're making money, you have the money to hire tax experts to help you get out of paying as many taxes as possible, right?
Oh, sure.
All right. Now the average individual, if they could marshal the same amount of forces to help them get out of paying as much taxes as possible, they might be in the same boat. Mm-hmm. In other words, they would be able to find exemptions and loopholes where they're just trying to do their taxes on their own or going to H&R Block or whatever. They don't have the same resources as a corporation
right.
has.
And even today, and I brought this up several years ago. I was testifying on a bill in the legislature over in Helena. I was saying, hey, one of these issues is little people, if you want to call them little people. You got small income taxpayers, and they get a letter from the state Montana Department of Revenue that says you owe this much money. A lot of them are helpless. And so it's just, I call it taxation through intimidation, because they get intimidated. And half the time, I'll just say half the time from my experience is that those government letters that say you owe more tax, half of them are right and half of them are wrong. And so all of that stuff should be investigated and determined, because nobody should have to pay taxes under intimidation.
Okay,
it's crazy.
Let's get back to the phone. Mike, thanks for holding. Go ahead.
Hi, thanks for taking my call.
You bet.
Hi, Mike.
In September, I bought an old house, and it needs some work, and I got it at a great price. I'm in the process of fixing it up, but I'm still on the fence on whether I want to resell it for profit or rent it out. First of all, can I deduct the materials and labor that I'm doing now on my taxes? And are any closing costs? Can I deduct any closing costs?
Okay, Mike. Are you living in this old house?
No. This is a second house right now.
Oh, okay. Well, this is going to get complicated, and I apologize for it in advance. But I'll start out. If you were living in it, you could do all of this remodeling, refurbishing, whatever you want to call it. If you own and live in that house for 2 years out of the 5-year period prior to the date of sale, you'd be able to exclude up to, if you were single, $250,000 of gain, and if you were married and both parties owned the house 50-50, you could exclude up to $500,000 of gain and not pay tax. So, and I proposed this to some contractors when the tax law changed on the sale of a residence. I said, hey, there's nothing wrong with you going out buying an old house like you have, Mike, living in it for 2 years, fix it up and sell it. And all that sweat equity and all the value increase in the house becomes non-taxable because of those exclusions. Okay, but you have bought this, and because you're not living in it, I assume you bought it for an investment. Because you buy it for an investment, you would have to capitalize all those costs that you have, the settlement costs on the closing statement, all the improvements you're going to make to this. You can deduct them, but you only can deduct them from the sale of the house when you sell it. Okay. Now, some people can get away with paying, deducting the property taxes on it. And if you have a mortgage, you can deduct the mortgage interest if it's, quote, treated as a second home. But in this case, because it's an investment, it would probably be best to capitalize that interest as well as those other costs.
So really important then, Walt, for Mike to hang on to every single receipt, right?
You better believe it. Yeah. Because, if you own that property for at least you should hang on to it for over a year, because then you could qualify for long-term capital gain treatment. If it's short-term, then it's just treated like ordinary income.
Okay.
Great.
That help
Thank you
you,
very
Mike?
much.
Okay. Thanks for the call, Mike. Appreciate it.
Okay, let's just assume it's an investment like that he has, and the wife sleeps at one house and the husband sleeps at the other. Can you do that for 2 years and call it that you live there?
Yeah, as long as if the wife was living in this other place and she was on the title, there's no reason why that couldn't qualify. But she'd have to be there for 2 years.
A doghouse with benefits.
Okay.
Give him some big ideas.
Okay.
Jeez,
Well, we'll leave you to imagine that. And so we'll get Sue's waiting. We're going to take a quick break, Sue. We have 2 lines open. You have a question for Walt Kero from Kero Byington and Associates here to answer your tax questions today. We'll be right back. Quick, who can name who did this song originally? The Classics 4. Yeah, Dennis Yost and the Classics 4. Just say it.
Is that 1956 original?
No, it's actually
68?
Yeah, 67, 66, something like that. All right. But aside from the music trivia, let's get back to the phones and talk taxes. Sue, good morning. Welcome to Talkback.
Oh, you always take me back, Peter.
I know.
Hi, Sue.
I know.
Hi. So I have a question. This morning I was watching the CBS Morning News, and they had a story about the latest IRS fraud problem, and I wondered if you were aware of it.
Is this the hidden emails or
Yeah,
something else?
is this in relation to the hidden emails and the tapes?
No, this is an actual IRS. They say that they call you on the phone and they say that
scam.
Oh, okay. We're talking fraud here.
These are real scammers, not our government. Gotta make a distinction.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, and in preparation of just such a question and comment, the IRS sent out some tax tips on February 17th, just a couple of weeks ago. Anyway, the whole thing, Sue, and for everybody out there, heed this stuff, because stay vigilant against bogus IRS phone calls and email. One, the IRS is not going to call in regards to this. The real IRS will not initiate contact with you by phone, email, text, or social media, ask for your personal or financial information. So anybody who does that is bogus and phony. The real IRS will not call you and demand immediate payment. And the IRS will not call about taxes you owe without first mailing you a bill. And that's true. So, of course, a lot of times, and I've seen this quite a bit, people move and the bills will go to the prior address.
Right.
And, cause all kinds of problems. And the real IRS will not require that you pay your taxes in a certain way. For example, telling you to pay with a prepaid debit card. Oh, really? Yeah, but Sue, that's a great point.
I want you to go to Walgreens.
Oh, man.
I just felt so horrible for this poor man that was about to retire, and he was totally scammed, and they told him to go get prepaid debit cards, and it was a nightmare.
Yeah, and you see that boils down to, earlier in the show I was talking about taxation through intimidation. This is just another fallout of that problem. And because people, God, I don't want to get in trouble with the IRS. God, I have one client, God bless her soul, her uncle, her dad in California was a contractor, and the IRS wiped him out, took him out of business and all that stuff. And so she is totally scared to death. The word audit to her, and she starts shaking. And it's all unfortunate, because it should not be that way.
Anything else, Sue?
Nope, that's it.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you for your call.
I did get a call from one of these scammers. It was some guy saying
you got 2 of them.
Man, you running this phone line here? I get so many. Because that phone number goes out everywhere.
Right.
721-1290, it's on Facebook. It's all, so I get these phone calls all the time. And yeah, they were telling me that I owed so much money in taxes. I'm like, okay, well, just tell me what my name is real quick. And they told me, Stephen Price, who owns Town Square Media. Yeah. I was like, sir, you are sadly mistaken, not only in my name, but how much money I actually make.
Yeah. Anyway, we're up against a break. And, Jeannie, I want to give you plenty of time to make your point and ask your question and get it answered. So we'll take a quick break, come right back. We have 2 lines open at 721-1290 for Walt the Tax Guy is with us. We'll be right back. I'll buy that for $1. All right, 721-1290 is our number, 1-800-568-5309. All right, Jeannie has been waiting long enough. Jeannie, first of all, thank you for your patience. Ma'am, you're on. Go ahead.
Yes, you're welcome. I'm just happy to have this opportunity.
Go ahead.
But I'm looking at the Missoulian newspaper from Saturday, the 28th of February, and I'm super upset about this article about a $158 million bond by the school district.
Oh, yeah, that sounds like the school district's wish list.
Yes. It's a bunch of unnecessary frills.
Well, here's the deal, Jeannie. From what I understand, and I could be wrong, so maybe, Walt, you could correct me, but the school district bonding capacity is only $150 million, and yet they want $158 million.
Oh. Well, $150 million is way overboard.
Okay.
But I'm concerned about the amount of increase in our property taxes, and since Walt deals with numbers, I'm wondering if he can take a guess on how much my taxes will go up for a $300,000 house, if, God forbid, this bond.
Oh boy.
Well, it's probably a 20-year bond, right?
Yeah, 20 years, and of course you got to see the difficult thing in there would be factoring in the interest cost.
Yeah.
I could do it, but I need a calculator.
And how many people?
Yeah. God, I hate to venture a guess, but yeah.
What you're supposed to say is like what the city always says. It's just a few pennies every day.
Yeah.
I can't imagine
a little bit.
I'm sorry, I got to sleep at night. I wouldn't sleep at night if I gave you a bad guess, Jeannie.
It's already on top of that $40 million that just passed, and
right.
on top of everything else that's gone up since I bought my house.
Yeah, and don't forget, you might end up paying for a water system too.
Oh yeah, just wait till you get to take out a bond for that.
Yeah. Anyway,
there's a reason why you can't say bondage without bond.
Wow.
But I'm making a plea to all your 20,000 listeners to vote against this bond and to tell others not to vote for it, because I've been following the school district for 10 years, and I don't believe they're acting in good faith. So
all right.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for your call, Jeannie.
You bet.
Okay.
All right, 721-1290 is our number, 1-800-568-5309. All 3 of our lines are open.
Yeah, and I'd also be curious, and I don't know, I don't profess to know a lot about property taxes and whatnot, but I know on these bonds, a lot of times you have to have a certain percentage, I think it's 40% of the prior general election voters have to vote in those bond issues, on those bond elections. So, there's not only does it have to have a majority, it has to have a minimum amount of voter participation.
Right.
That way you can't have a special interest group pulling a fast one.
Well, you have to think, first of all, if it's the entire county, how many households are we talking about? How long? And, of course, it depends on the value of your house as to how much, they say, well, a $200,000 house. There aren't very many $200,000 houses anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, anyway,
Okay,
right.
hold on. Okay, so the $45 million bond, which is the last one we have an example for, and this is less than a third of the proposed school bond.
Right.
Okay, so for a $200,000 house, translated to a $23.67 a year increase on property taxes.
Okay, so we're talking $60 or $70 if it's $150 million.
But that was on a $200,000 house.
Right, okay.
So, yeah, we're not only increasing the value of the house, but we're increasing, so who knows?
Yeah.
Anyway. Someone that does CPA work probably should be able to calculate that. I don't know.
Oh, let me get my calculator
There you go. Let's get Patrick on the line first of all. Hi, Patrick.
Hey, Peter.
What's up, sir?
Congratulations to you and the wife on your recent anniversary.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Hey,
let's just put it this way: my warranty's up, but hers is still good. So go ahead.
Your marriage license had an expiration date on it. I just recently left my job, and I am currently working as a contract sales rep.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what advice do you have for me, Mr. Tax Guy?
Okay.
As far as getting, should I get an accountant, or should I stash away X amount of money or percentage from each paycheck to make sure I can cover taxes at the end of the year?
Patrick, magic words, quarterly estimated taxes.
Right, but you're throwing me for a loop when they if they give you a paycheck, and this is key. Are you self-employed or are you an employee?
Well, I only get commission off of what I sell, but I filled out a W-9.
Yeah. Okay. So normally with the W-9, you're probably going to be treated as a independent contractor, and then what Peter says comes true. And I would hold back at least 25, if not 30% of your gross income to help pay for the tax bill. Now, when you say a contract sales rep, you're going to be able to. You're like an independent business person.
Right.
And so, they pay you X dollars, and you're responsible for everything, your mileage, all your out-of-pocket expenses. So those will be, in almost all cases, deductible towards the production of that income.
Keep good records.
Yeah.
Yes. And I have been very diligent so far with getting in my car and writing down my mileage as I start, and then the next day I write down the mileage as I start, and
Yeah, and let's just use some hypothetical numbers. I'm just going to throw out that you do 100,000 a year gross, and and then you incur 35,000 a year in expenses for your car, your phone, your office and home, whatever it happens to be.
Right.
And so let's say you net 65,000. Well, I can tell you, because not only do you have to pay income tax on the 65,000, you got to pay Social Security tax, and that's that just basically doubles your tax bill.
All of it.
And it's a huge bite. And I've had some people promote the idea of, well, why don't we have everybody pay their taxes all at once, and they have to include their Social Security tax payment at the same time, because that would promote a revolution.
Yeah.
Because the tax bill would people would just be up in arms.
Well, it's become an urban legend around here that ever since Walt's been on, and of course I have a little itty bitty tiny small business, and every 4 months I sit down and write a check for a couple of grand to the Treasury, U.S. Treasury, and several $100s to the state, and every single time smoke comes out of my ears when I say, you know what that money could go for? Do you know I could have my house paid off by now? All that good stuff. Wine. I'd like some cheese with my wine. So, so be prepared for that.
Okay. I actually.
Well, Walter, do you have a brick and mortar location that I can maybe?
I do. I'm at 269 West Front.
Okay.
And that's downtown. Just right off the corner of Orange and Front Street, just a little bit east of that.
Kind of kitty quarter from KECI television.
What's your last name, Walt?
Kero, Kero.
Okay, I'll find you.
Yeah, and 549-2288.
And he's got a really cool new website too, by the way.
Yeah.
And the only thing missing from everything here, Walter, is a jingle. And so, Peter, I think you need to. Walter.
No, we already have a jingle. It's the Beatles Taxman.
It's the Beatles Taxman song.
I think there may be some copyright infringement problems there, but anyway, thanks, Patrick. Good luck to you, buddy.
Thanks, Patrick.
I have a number for the property tax increase for the property based off of Missoulian's work here.
All right.
Story by Alice Miller. So as long as her numbers are right, we're looking at about $209 for a year for property taxes on a $200,000 house, an increase of about $209 per year.
$209 per year?
Yeah, for a house valued $200,000, and that includes both the elementary and the high school property tax increases or bonds.
So this is an easy one because Jeannie, she's got a $300,000 house. It'll be $300 a year.
Okay, well,
pretty close to that.
We're going to take a little break now. And,
ouch.
Okay, John, we're going to get your call on in a moment. We have two lines open. 721-1290 is our number. Okay, real quick, I just wanted to bring this up to Walt because he's the tax guy. And this is an article that appeared, let's see, stand by, Friar, This is on Town Hall. It says, President Obama very interested, end quote, in raising taxes through executive action. It says here, White House Press Secretary Josh Earnest confirmed Monday that President Obama is, quote, very interested in the idea of raising taxes through unilateral executive action. The president certainly has not indicated any reticence in using his executive authority to try to advance an agenda that benefits middle-class Americans, Earnest said in response to a question about Senator Bernie Sanders calling on Obama to raise more than $100 billion in taxes through IRS executive action.
Well, I think this isn't a tax question. This is a fundamental question of what kind of a country are we? Are we a democracy, or are we being run by a king?
Yeah, if all bureaucratic rules can be handed down by the president, as we did with the DHS, I mean, why not expand to the IRS, the EPA, and every other one?
Well, the agencies are at his beck and call. So
right. Now we voted in the last general election for whether or not he could be there. But are we voting for how does our vote come in for this kind of increased taxation?
Yeah. Well, yeah,
I mean, there's a huge disconnect there. But I'm thinking, oh my God, think of all these K Street lobbyists. How are they going to lobby Obama on that one?
Well, and I think that it's important that, I mean, if you're out there and you support the president, just keep in mind that he won't always be president, and someone that you disagree with will eventually hold that office. And the further the voters get away from their government, the more dangerous this republic becomes. We need to try to rein in the powers of government and bring them back to the people, and giving a president more power than he should over the legislative branch is a dangerous thing.
You almost think he's trying to jerk our chain with this stuff.
Nobody gave it to him. He's just taking it.
And you give it to him by letting him
and
do
nobody's
it.
stopping him. That's just it. Okay, so let's get John. We have all three lines rolling here. John, I'm sorry to keep you waiting, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah, you said all three lines were open, so I thought I'd call.
Yeah,
hey, thanks, John.
There you go.
Last year, the IRS admitted that they had paid over $8 billion in 2013 to illegals who had fraudulently filed tax returns. And then Monday, the head of the IRS was in front of Congress, and here's a short one paragraph out of the Washington Times. It says, the IRS is defending its decision to let illegal immigrants claim up to 3 years refunds on income, even if they never paid income taxes.
Wow.
Telling Congress in a letter last week that agency lawyers has concluded getting a Social Security number triggers the ability to go back and ask for previous refunds. President Obama's executive amnesty order could grant Social Security numbers to as many as 4 million illegal immigrants, making them eligible for tax refunds under the income tax credit, earned income tax credit, and child credits, even for the years when they cheated on their taxes, made no money, or did not even file taxes.
Wow.
So they can go back 3 years. It just makes my head explode.
Amen, brother.
Yeah, it's an outrage.
Yeah,
and
thanks.
it's also, because where the
John.
money comes from that comes from us, from the taxpayers who are putting into the system. And we're just giving it away? It's not right.
And you wonder where the Tea Party came from. Taxed enough already. That's what the acronym originally stood for. So let's get Sean on the line. Sean, first of all, thank you for holding, sir. Go ahead.
Hi, I have a question. I work in a highly commission-based industry, and unfortunately with the commission-based is you get taxed around, I think, 40+% on any of your commission checks. And I was wondering what the justification was for that, and if there's any way to potentially shelter that so I don't have to pay, close to half my check in taxes.
Well, there are some ways that you can do. Okay, I've got a minute. Peter,
we'll keep them on. That's
yeah.
okay.
Oh, okay. Well, the thing is you could either incorporate it as a subchapter S corporation, or you could form a limited liability company or some kind of an entity, and then you pull out of there a smaller amount than you're getting paid in commission. I'm just assuming that you're filing right now as a Schedule C sole proprietor. And by forming the entity and pulling out some of the money, you can whittle down on your Social Security taxes that way. You can't eliminate them, but you can, do that. That's one planning opportunity there. But you have to be careful, and you can't be greedy. But you could do that. And if you have people that work with you and help you to create these commissions, you can pay them and deduct that. And, reduce some of the tax. But why you're getting nailed at 40, 50% is because of the combination of income tax and Social Security tax all at once.
Oh, okay. So do you think that they're unfairly getting hit? People that earn
no.
commission?
If they were doing the same thing with a W-2, as you're going throughout the year,
Thanks for
they
your call,
withhold Social Security and they withhold income tax.
Gotcha.
And so it's almost parity. But
every check I get from a client, I automatically remove 40% and put it in a separate account before I even look at it. I mean, it's just become habit thanks to people like Walt. So,
do you have a clever name for that separate account?
Yeah, it's still, I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore. No, I'm with Tracy and Larry. We'll get you guys on here in 1 minute. Stay with us. Just a few precious minutes left with our friend Walt Kero from Kero Byington and Associates. Let's get as many calls in as we can. Tracy, first of all, thank you for holding. Go ahead.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Tracy.
I got just one. Hey, Walt. I just got one quick comment, and I got a question for Walt. The Constitution isn't on the ballot when people are elected. If they want to make these changes, they need to go through the amendment process.
Yeah.
The IRS
Amen.
thing.
Okay.
Hey, Walt, a couple of years ago I called you. My wife was working for a company where she had the ability to write checks out of a specific account that didn't have the federal payroll taxes in it to pay the IRS. So they put a lien on our house.
Yeah.
And so $10,000 later, we won the case. But in the meantime, they took 2 of our federal refunds. Do I have any recourse on that money, or is it just gone?
I think you have a recourse. If you won the case against them, you should have a recourse. Now, I don't know all the facts and circumstances, but without knowing the details, I would think you would have some basis to go there.
What kind of detail are you looking for?
Well, the nature of the claim, in other words, what they were hit, what was the nature of what the tax bill was from, if it was from payroll taxes or
it was from payroll taxes, right?
Okay, if you, like I say, I need to know what the penalty amount they charged you with was, the interest amount. What's that?
It was $212,000.
Yeah. But I think if you won with the IRS, and I'm not sure what winning meant, but
they wrote me a letter saying that the abatement was appropriate.
Okay, so they abated the penalties, and is that what they abated?
Yes, the $212,000. Yes.
Yeah, and that's a lot of penalty.
Yeah, I thought it was a bogus thing because, she was a W-2 employee who did not have access to funds. The only time she could write a check was when there was money in the account that she wrote checks on, not the account where the IRS taxes were paid. But instead of going after that guy, they just put a lien on our house, and then we had to go through all.
As far as I'm concerned, you should be made whole. In other words, anything that you had to pay out of pocket, you probably, if you paid attorney's fees or costs to deal with that, you're probably going to have to not get that, but I would claim it and see if you can get that from them, because now I'm with you, because if you have if your wife was employed by somebody and they didn't pay the payroll taxes and she had access to funds, they can, in some cases, go after you, that person, for the unpaid payroll taxes and penalties. And so obviously she was found not guilty of having that access to that extent. And so you should be made whole.
Okay, so is that something I can't do that on my form. I have to go back to deal with the IRS.
Yep, you'll have to go to the local office or and let me tell you, right now, dealing with the IRS over the phone or through letters is just like, you might as well wait for the second coming.
Like herding cats. Yeah.
Yeah, you'd be better off to go to the local office. You know where that is? On Palmer Street?
Oh, yeah.
Actually, I have been there, and the lady I worked with was very kind and of course, I had a very minor problem. So
yeah. Oh, Carla's great. I work with her all the time.
Yeah, but it's still the IRS.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Yep. Well, she has to live with their rules, and some of them ain't pretty. And this is one of them.
It was not a pretty process. And they knew she was innocent because of the previous cases that had been come before them, and they just kind of drug it out for 2 years.
Well, yeah, but they just default to what's normal, and so they just go ahead and just assert that stuff. And geez, that's too bad. You hate to see that happen. But you should, as far as I'm concerned, you should be made whole.
Okay. Well, that's what I needed to hear.
Okay,
Thanks,
good luck, Tracy.
Thanks for the call. And unfortunately, we lost Larry. Lines are clear. We have a minute and a half.
Oh, I don't have time to ask about how you can receive a tax refund if you never paid any income tax or Social Security. But
well, you need to be an illegal alien, and then
no, it's an undocumented visitor.
Oh, that's not in my. That's not my vocabulary. I don't understand that.
Not your lexicon, or
yeah.
Every time we talk about it, it does sound like the X-Files, doesn't it? I mean, like you hear like, ooh,
I'm an undocumented.
Yeah, but
alien.
the bill that would create, the additional child credit and the earned income tax credits on 5 million people, that's in the billions and billions
we
of
can
dollars.
afford it. We have all the money in the world. We can just print some more. It's no big
it's just
deal.
petty cash, when you got a printing press.
Okay, Walt, we have exactly 1 minute, so how do we get in touch with you?
You can get a hold of me at Kero Byington Associates, 549-2288. And our website is KB, as in Kero Byington, KBCPAS.net. It's a good website. The folks here at Town and Country have helped me with that and helped us.
Or Town Square, for that matter.
Yeah, Town Square meeting. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Walt, what's your phone number, real quick?
Okay, 549-2288.
Thanks,
Lacey
buddy.
will answer the phone. She'll be very nice to you.
You bet. And what's coming up tomorrow?
We might have Ryan Zinke on to talk about what's been going on at the at Congress recently. Also, Yevgeny Feiman from Manhattan Institute will be talking about King versus Burwell.
Fantastic. All right, and thank you all for your wonderful calls, and thanks again to Walt. And you guys have a great day. Enjoy this beautiful day in the sunshine. We'll see you tomorrow.